The sky is often a mysterious place. We would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to our YouTube channel, where we will be counting down our choices for the top 5 most interesting mysteries in the field of aviation. These are the mysterious aviation stories that stun the globe either as a result of the mysterious circumstances surrounding the incidents themselves or as a result of the unknown outcomes for the individuals or planes involved. To be quite clear, we are adding the mysteries that are the most interesting and shocking, regardless of whether or not they have been solved in the years that have passed since the incidents. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Number 5. Flight 739 of the Flying Tigers. In the middle of March in 1962, during the early phases of the Vietnam War, United States Army Flying Tiger Flight 739 vanished over the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean while it was en route from Guam to the Philippines. The Mariana Trench is an apparently bottomless chasm in the middle of the ocean. A standard oil tanker that was in the region when the jet's final message was sent out reported seeing a bright explosion in the sky almost an hour after the plane's transmission. Some investigators believe that this explosion may have been caused by the plane. Because no emergency calls were received by any of the air traffic control centers, it is difficult to pinpoint the precise moment when things began to go wrong for those who were on board. After an intensive search team, which included 1,300 people, 48 aircraft, and 8 surface vessels, and which collectively covered over 144 square miles, came up empty, speculations began to spread like wildfire throughout the United States regarding what had taken place. These ideas range from the accusation that it was shot down by mistake by the United States government, who subsequently concealed their tracks, to the theory that it simply crashed due to engine and communication failure. However, the actual cause is still unknown, and it is possible that no one will ever fully comprehend what took place. Number 4. Flight 19, which landed in the Bermuda Triangle. At the beginning of December 1945, not one but 6 planes vanished, and they have not been found to this day. This event is maybe the one that has been the subject of the most debate on an aircraft disappearance. It was on that day that 5 Avenger torpedo bombers, which are well known in the aviation community for their enormous size, took out from their base in Lauderdale, Florida, for bombing practice in what has subsequently become known as the Bermuda Triangle. The weather conditions on that day were described as being average. The 5 planes were unable to maintain communication with the ground station because they were having issues with their compasses, which is something that is known to occur in that region as well as in the Chinese Sea. However, the ground station was still able to track the communications between the pilots of the planes. During these communications, it was noted that the pilots got disoriented as to their whereabouts, and they decided that after the first jet went below 10 gallons of fuel, all of the planes were to ditch into the ocean. The Coast Guard and the Navy promptly began an extensive search and rescue operation that lasted for 5 days and covered a total area of 700 square kilometers. During this time, another plane carrying 13 passengers vanished without a trace and was never located again. The only piece of information that could shed light on what had happened was a report made by an ocean liner that claimed to have witnessed a huge fireball in the sky while it was in the area where the plane was thought to have been at the time. In spite of this, as of the time of this publication, no trace of the 6 missing planes or the passengers on board has been located, which has led to the perpetuation of the aura of mystery that surrounds the fabled Bermuda Triangle. Number 3. Glenn Miller. By the middle of December in 1944, Glenn Miller had already established his legacy as both one of the most influential big band leaders of all time and a genuine pioneer in the development of the swing musical genre. However, after the jet he was on disappeared without a trace after departure, his reputation developed to the point where he was considered an American folk hero. The official assessment of the missing plane concluded that the plane must have crashed into the English Channel as a result of iced-over wings or engine problems because it left London on a chilly and foggy day, and there were no other evident conclusions that could be formed regarding the disappearance of the plane. The plane was en route to Paris from London. However, that unclear verdict was not successful in calming down the devastated citizenry, which had recently suffered the loss of one of the most important morale boosters for the Allied powers. It was only natural that rumors spread about what had actually taken place. There have been numerous hypotheses put forward, none of which have been verified to a level of satisfaction. These hypotheses range from the famous musician landing covertly, only to pass away from cancer a few days later in a hospital, to the plane being accidentally bombed by friendly fire from English planes that were releasing bombs that were initially intended for a mission that was canceled. The one piece of information that can be stated with absolute confidence is that the plane took off on its relatively brief journey on December 15, but was never seen again at its destination. Number 2. Star Tiger of British South American Airways. On January 30, 1948, an Avro Tudor IV jet owned by British South American Airways and given the moniker Star Tiger set off from the Azores archipelago in order to finish the final leg of a journey that began in London and ended in Bermuda. It was discovered just before takeoff that the airplane had experienced complications with both the heating and the compass before it ever got airborne. However, the plane proceeded with its schedule, following another plane from the Kingdom of Lancaster, and it was acting as a lookout for signals of stormy weather. Therefore, in order to keep the temperature of the plane at a warmer level, it flew exceedingly low at a height of 2,000 feet. This effectively eliminated nearly any kind of wiggle space in the event that a problem should emerge. Because it was flying at such a low altitude, the aircraft burned through its fuel at a pace that was significantly higher than it would have been if it had been flying at a height that was more appropriate. Ground control became concerned when the Star Tiger did not immediately follow the Lancastrian jet after it successfully landed, and the Star Tiger did not immediately follow it. Investigators came to the conclusion that in relation to the locations of the plane, it may be said that no more baffling problem has ever been presented. This was due to the fact that search and rescue forces were unsuccessful in their efforts, and that none of the 25 passengers or 6 crew members were ever heard from again. Recent investigations have pointed the finger of blame at the plane's unreliable design, as well as the possibility of gales that may have blown it directly into the water, and the pilot's decision to fly at such a low altitude. Despite this, not even a life preserver or a shard of broken glass has been located in relation to the Star Tiger. Number 1. The Star Ariel was flown by British South American Airways. Another British South American Airways flight vanished without a trace on January 17, 1949, while it was its route from Bermuda to Jamaica. This time, it was over a year after the loss of the Star Tiger. 1 hour after it left, the Star Ariel sent a regular signal to the ground station marking its location. Shortly after that, it appears that the Star Ariel ceased to exist at an altitude of 18 feet. The search for the plane's wreckage did not get underway until 7.5 hours after it was initially reported missing. By this point, any surviving pieces of the aircraft were likely well on their way to the ocean floor. It is assumed that communication problems were to blame for the delay. At the time, investigators were able to rule out 3 typical scenarios: the jet running out of fuel, which looked unlikely at such a high altitude, any errors that were credited to the pilot, and bad weather, as the report mentioned clear skies in that location. As a result, the British civil officers in charge of the investigation made the observation that some external cause may overwhelm both man and machine, which inadvertently generated a plethora of theories based upon mere supposition by the general populace. However, as time has passed, a number of specialists have asserted that whatever occurred must have occurred suddenly and without any prior notice, which has led them to the conclusion that there was an explosion caused by a mix of flaws that were built into the plane's design as well as exceptional conditions. Whatever the reason for the crash, investigators have not been able to locate any wreckage, and all 20 passengers were first reported missing before being declared dead. This is it for today's video. Must subscribe to our channel before leaving. Thanks for watching.